UFC 298 is coming up this weekend, and today, guys, I have all of the fighters that I will be cheering for. Hear me out, and I would love to know in the comment section afterwards if there are any fighters that you in particular will be cheering for. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section, like I just said, guys. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kyle. I'm your guy with too many YouTube channels. Let's get into the fighters. I'm going to go from the fighters I'm going to be cheering for, like, the least to the fighters that I'm going to be cheering for the most. But regardless, these fighters I'm going to be cheering for regardless of my bets. I don't care. I'm a big fan of the sport. I get attached to these fighters. So anyways, I'm going to start off with Geoff Neal, man. Now, I'm honestly not too big of a fan of Geoff Neal. Not that I don't like the guy, honestly. I've never really cared too much of Geoff Neal, but Ian Garry has been so annoying. That's the entire point of it. I don't like Ian Garry, man. But that is like pretty much, I guess you could call it an honorable mention because I have 5 fighters after this that I'm really cheering for. So yeah, you know what? I will consider that an honorable mention. I'm going to be cheering for Geoff Neal to finish Ian Garry. But anyways, the next fighter that I'm going to be cheering for is actually Carlos Vera. The reason for this is I'm not too familiar with Carlos Vera. I've seen him fight a couple times, but this man is being brought into the UFC at 36 years old to literally be slaughtered by Rinya Nakamura because the UFC wants to push him. I have nothing against Rinya Nakamura. I think he's a very, very exciting prospect, but at the end of the day, I just feel bad when everybody, like, could you imagine just, hey, you want to come into the UFC? We're going to have you get beat up by this guy. That's the whole point. The UFC is obviously not looking at this guy like he's a respectable fighter or anything like that. They just want Rinya Nakamura to win. They want another undefeated prospect to come out of the East. So that's why I'm going to be cheering for Carlos Vera personally. I would love to see him get, like, a giant upset by that. Now, the next fighter, guys, that I will be cheering for at UFC 298 is Roman Kopylov. I love watching this dude fight. And you know what? It's a little bit sad because I really love watching Anthony Hernandez fight as well. But Roman Kopylov is one of the most underappreciated fighters in the entirety of the UFC. I really do believe that. The dude is so talented and is improving every single time that we see him. And for him to come off the couch, well, not really off the couch, but he's taking this fight on short notice. He is taking a fight on short notice against one of the most dangerous, unknown prospects. Literally, only really hardcore fans are really talking about Anthony Hernandez. Like, this is one of the most dangerous fights that you could have taken if you are not fully ready, because you will need to have the cardio. It's like saying, hey, I'm going to come fight Merab Dvalishvili because this dude's going to push your pace. He's going to push the cardio. He's going to constantly attacking you. You need to be on your game. And for Roman Kopylov to take on this guy out of everybody, that's incredibly respectable, and I hope he gets a job done. I love watching both guys perform, but I would love to see Roman Kopylov honestly, I would love to see him get a shot at the top 15. I think he is something special, but to be honest with you, Anthony Hernandez is also one of those special athletes. The next fighter, guys, that I will be cheering for at UFC 298, this being the third fighter that I will be cheering for the most, is going to be Alexander Volkanovski. I'm just a really big fan of Alexander Volkanovski, and I know that, and I made a video about this a long time ago, I have been one of those guys who I completely agree with Lucas Tracy when he says that Alexander Volkanovski is going to have a BJ Penn type of downfall. I do not want to see that, and I don't want it to be now. I believe, up until he lost Islam Makhachev again, that this man was the greatest fighter of all time throughout history in MMA, and it's going to be very sad if he ends up getting finished again by Ilia Topuria. I love watching greatness perform, and I would love to see another couple years at least of Alexander Volkanovski in his prime, demolishing his opponents and still showing off the great that he is. I really want to see Alexander Volkanovski perform. It's going to be so sad to see this man lose if that happens, and it's a very real possibility that it's this fight. So I'm going to really be pulling for Alexander Volkanovski to get the win over Ilia Topuria. But guys, there are 2 fighters that I will be cheering for more than Alexander Volkanovski, and the first being Robert Whittaker. There's not a lot to say about Robert Whittaker. It's kind of like when I make these videos and I talk about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's just a very likable guy, one of my favorite fighters of all time. There will never be a time where I'm cheering against Robert Whittaker. I really do believe that. But guys, out of everybody on the card, there is one fighter that I want to win more than everybody at UFC 298, and that being Henry Cejudo. Henry Cejudo, I get that he's a little bit cringy. I get that there's something going on with this coach right now. I get that people really don't like Henry Cejudo and the negotiations tactic that he's been putting on, or supposedly has been putting on. We don't know if that's actually the case. This man has always been incredibly underrated and underappreciated. He was a 2-division champion, and people are just, lol, he's short. People don't give this man the respect that he deserves. He is one of the greatest combat athletes of all time. I know it's a joke when he says that. I know, people have ended up memeing that, but it's entirely true. The man is an Olympic gold champion, and people do not give him the respect that he deserves. He's taking on the toughest fight in the division. in Merab Dvalishvili. Henry Cejudo is a gamer more than anybody in that division. He is competing at 37 years old in the toughest division in the history of combat sports, and he is taking on the toughest fight in that division. I have absolutely nothing but respect for Henry Cejudo, and I hope to God that he gets that win. I will be cheering for him, and what a story it would be if Henry Cejudo could come back and become the bantamweight champion at the age that he's at. I'm going to be cheering for him more than anybody. I have been a big Henry Cejudo fan for a very long time. It was astonishing to me that he beat TJ Dillashaw, Demetrius Johnson. I want to see him continue his legacy, and I do not want to see him go out. Unfortunately, the way that I see him going out and that being Merab beating him, I will be sitting here and I will actively be cheering for Henry Cejudo every single second of that fight. I hope he gets the job done. Guys, I want to know if there are any fighters in the card besides your betting that you will be cheering for. Are there any fighters that you like? Let me know in the comment section down below. But while you are still on YouTube, check out this video on the screen right now. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Take care.